There was a pivotal moment in my life where I knew that my trauma was running my life and I knew that I had to do something about it. And that time was towards the end of my marriage. Something in me just snapped. I realized that I was making decisions based on what I had been through in my past. And I knew in order to make my life different that some changes had to happen. Leading up to that, one key thing that happened that people don't realize makes a big difference is I changed my diet. Now, when I say this, I'm not saying that everyone has to be like me, but these are some things that I did. One thing I did is I went vegan, specifically raw vegan. Raw veganism is when you're basically eating raw fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So when you're doing that, you have a major detox in your body. You have a major detox in your mind and your emotions. We're all just, our body's just one system. So when you are healing and helping one thing, the entire body heals. And so, what I started to realize over the years, it did take some time because I was back and forth with raw veganism and regular veganism, and not necessarily healthy vegan food, to be quite honest. But over time, as my body started to detox and my body started to heal, I started to learn more about myself and learn that, I was affected by my childhood. I did not realize that. I did not know that. I didn't think that I was affected by my childhood um, at all. It just wasn't even in my thought process, to be quite honest. I was just kind of going through the motions, going through life, not realizing that the decisions that I was making in my life was a result of the trauma that I had endured. So, first thing I did is I went on a 14-day fast. I went on a 14-day fast. After that fast, I knew it was time for me to walk away. I did not get mad and say, "Oh, I'm leaving," and then change my mind later. No, I knew it was time to go. So I started to strategize and develop a plan to leave. Um, I didn't even know have my own bank account. So I had to get my own bank account, get a job in my home city, and do all these things strategically because I knew that in that moment is again like a light bulb went off. Like I should not have been in this relationship. This was a very toxic relationship, which it was before I even got married, to be quite honest, because we had a relationship before we decided to get married. So it wasn't like I didn't know, but I is that I didn't realize that this is a result of trauma, and I didn't realize that this was someone that I did not need to be with. I always, felt like that's what I deserved or that that was normal. A lot of times when you're living your life as a person who has dealt with trauma, you don't really truly understand that the decisions that you make, whether they're good or bad, most of the bad ones are as a result of your trauma. You just think, oh, this is a decision that I'm making. Um, so started to devise a plan. I was able to get out of the marriage safely and move back to my hometown. And then after that, that's when I started the healing process. There was a lot of crying, a lot of just being still and being alone and being in that moment and being in my feelings and learning that I did have a traumatic childhood because honestly I didn't even understand that I did, if I'm being quite honest. So after that, getting counseling several times and learning more about my spiritual walk and how to heal myself on a spiritual level. And that's something I really don't talk about much, but one day I will get into that. How I just learned how to deep dive into things more spiritually. I was pretty much very spiritual even when I was quote unquote religious, but I kind of dropped the religious way that I was living and became more spiritual, understanding the Bible from a spiritual aspect, understanding my relationship with God based on me as an individual versus what religion tells me how I have to be or how I need to be. I do consider myself a Christian and I still, but um I not the traditional way uh, that Christianity is taught. And again, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you know, in that moment, that's when I realized my trauma was running my life. And I knew that I had to make a change. I knew that it was time for me to make a difference and make a change in my life. And I have not looked back. And there's been some bumps in the road for sure. 2025 has been one big bump in the road. But then there was another opportunity for me to heal, for me to learn more about myself and dig deeper into my trauma and what's affecting me. And that's just what I've been doing. Has it been easy? No, but it's definitely worth it. And I know that I will spend the rest of my life, if I need to spend the rest of my life, healing. I will spend the rest of my life being my true, authentic self because that's what I desire and that's what I deserve. Thank you so much for coming on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I love you guys. And if you can remember a turning point in your life where you knew your trauma was running your life, let me know in the comments. I love to hear about it. Bye, guys. Have an amazing day because you deserve it. Bye.